Hi everyone, welcome back to DGMC, Diwan-e-Ghalib, Meri Subani. To all our returning viewers, we are very happy you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are delighted you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Now, if you were with me in the previous episode, you know that currently we are going through Ghazal 36 from Diwan-e-Ghalib. We've already covered 2 couplets. Today we are going to pick up the third couplet. As always, I'm going to read the couplet first. We will then get into a quick approximate translation, the key words, and then finally the DGMZ impression of the couplet. So, allow me to narrate to you couplet 3 from Ghazal 36 of Diwan-e-Ghalib. Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna Yani. सादगी-हा-ए-तमन्ना यानी फिर वो नायरंगे-नज़र याद आया. Let's do a quick approximate translation. First line, Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna Yani. Innocence of longing, such it is. फिर वो नायरंगे-नज़र याद आया. That once again, memory of that enchanting glance came to mind. So that is a quick translation. Let's start picking up our keywords. Like we have said in the previous 2 episodes, this ghazal is very simply written, not a lot of complex words, but let's pick the pivotal ones. First one, Saadgi, something we still use in our day-to-day vocabulary till date. Saadgi can be translated to simplicity. That is its most common usage. But in addition, it can also mean naivete, some kind of plainness. At times it can mean purity, sincerity, right? Or sometimes very candid, very upfront, calling a spade a spade. So that is सादगी. इस पे मुनीर नियाजी का ये शेर, पूछते हैं कि क्या हुआ दिल को. पूछते हैं कि क्या हुआ दिल को, हुस्न वालों की सादगी ना गई. The approximate translation is, they inquire, they ask, what happened to your heart? Oh, these beautiful ones, their simplicity is still intact. Let's move on to our next word, tamanna, another word that we still use in our daily vocabulary, a very common word. Tamanna, in its most common usage, would mean some kind of wish, some kind of desire, longing. But it can also be used to describe a request, a prayer, a petition. इस पे जॉन इलिया का शेर, हमारी ही तमन्ना क्यों करो तुम, तुम्हारी ही तमन्ना क्यों करें हम. One of our favorites here at DGMC. The approximate translation is, me, why should you desire only me? You, why should I desire only you? It's a beautiful couplet. All right. And then our last keyword of the day, Nairang. Nairang is a handful. It is a word with lot of shades and nuances to it. For now, what does it translate to? Magic, sorcery, some kind of illusion, sometimes a miracle. Sometimes also a very spectacular, out of this world kind of performance. At times, it can also be an act in deceit, tricking somebody, right? So like I said, lot of shades to it, and we will get into those during the impression, but for now that is what Nairang translates to. इस पे हफीज जलंधरी का ये शेर, ये भी एक धोखा था नायरंगे तिलिस्मे अक्ल का, ये भी एक धोखा था, नैरंगे तिलिस्मे अकल का, अपनी हस्ती पर भी हस्ती का हुआ धोखा मुझे. The approximate translation is this too was a mirage, a deceit, a trick of the enchanting maze created by my mind, that for my existence I was tricked into believing it existed. It's a complex share, but that is the approximate translation. I was tricked about my existence in my existence. Such was the sorcery of my mind. All right. So that takes care of all the keywords. Let's start getting into our impression. First line. Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna Yani. Innocence of longing, such it is. Ghalib has crafted a wonderful first line, which on surface looks simple and unassuming, just like the tip of the Ghalib iceberg we always talk about here at DGMC. And as always, there is a huge hidden body of this iceberg which is submerged, which is below this tip. Ghalib kickstarts the couplet with Saadgi, a powerful metaphor. Saadgi, in fact, is a desirable and glorified virtue both in the lover and the beloved. In the beloved, it exists as an endearing ada or mannerism or grace. Mirza Ghalib का शेर, इस सादगी पे कौन न मर जाए ए खुदा, लड़ते हैं और हाथ में तलवार भी नहीं. The approximate translation is, O Lord, who would not give up their life at this innocence? She is fighting with me and she has no sword in her hands. जिगर मुरादाबादी का ये शेर, सभी अंदाज़े हुस्न प्यारे हैं, हम मगर सादगी के मारे हैं. Beautiful couplet. The approximate translation is, all the aspects of beauty are endearing. All of them are my favorites, all of them are endearing, but amongst all of those, the one I succumbed to, the one that literally killed me, was her innocence, though all aspects are beautiful. Now, Saadgi in the beloved, like we said, can exist as an ada, as mannerism, as one of her graces. In the lover, it exists as naivete, innocence. Some might even call it foolishness at times. इस पे आलमा इकबाल का ये शेर, तेरे इश्क की इंतहा चाहता हूँ, मेरी सादगी देख क्या चाहता हूँ. The approximate translation is, I desire to witness the limits, the extreme limits of your love, beloved. Look at me, look at my naivete. What am I wishing for? हसरत मोहानी का ये शेर, वफा तुझसे ए बेवफा चाहता हूँ, मेरी सादगी देख क्या चाहता हूँ. Same sentiment. The approximate translation is, I am wishing, desiring, waiting for loyalty from you, O disloyal one. Look at my naivete, look at my innocence, look at my simplicity. What am I desiring for here? And then last one, Mirza Ghalib ka शेर, one of our favorites here at DGMZ. हमको उनसे वफा की है उम्मीद, जो नहीं जानते वफा क्या है. The approximate translation is, we are sitting here waiting for, expecting loyalty, hoping for loyalty from the one who doesn't even know what loyalty is. So, this Saadgi, this naivete, this innocence, when it exists in the lover, this, this is the form it exists in, where the lover is expecting something from the beloved which she either doesn't know what it is or doesn't want to give it. Whatever the scene might be, the lover is not going to get what he's wishing for. And knowing that, he still he still continues to wish for it, wait for it, hope for it. Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna on the surface will read as simplicity in what I desire. And technically, that would be correct. But in DGMZ's humble opinion, translating Saadgi to simplicity in this word complex does not do justice to the way Ghalib is using Saadgi in today's couplet. Saadgi in today's couplet goes beyond just simplicity. Saadgi in today's couplet does not simply mean simple. In today's couplet, it has deeper, nuanced meanings with heavy shades of innocence, naivete, some would even say foolishness. And when you start thinking of these shades, these undertones, that is when you start realizing that in the word complex, Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna, Ghalib is not just capturing a one-time event of lover's tamanna or lover's desire. Ghalib here, in fact, is capturing the core DNA of the lover's heart. A heart which, against all odds, still exhibits uncorrupted innocence, naivete, as it continues to desire, continues to wish for the beloved and reciprocation of love from the beloved. सादुल्ला शाह का ये शेर, मुझसा कोई जहां में नादां भी ना हो, करके जो इश्क कहता है नुकसान भी ना हो. What a lovely couplet. The approximate translation is, I hope in this world there never exists someone as innocent, as naive, as foolish as me, who would assume that they would fall in love and that there would be no losses as far as falling in love goes. This wishing, this desiring by the lover's heart is done despite the lover's brain, which knows how impossible, how futile, how dangerous, how painful and agonizing is the outcome of this wishing and desiring. Every time we see a lover's choice with reference to the beloved, we have this natural tendency to ask the question, why does he do that? Can't he see how futile, how impossible, how painful this experience is? Then why does he do it? Why does he want it? Why does he desire it? इसको अकल नहीं है, इसको दिखता नहीं है कितना नुकसान होगा, कितना दुख होगा, कितनी तकलीफ होगी in this transaction of love, or for that matter unrequited love. क्यों कर रहा है? अकल नहीं है. Right? And perhaps answers to all those questions lie in the lover's Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna. Now, Urdu Zaban describes this sentiment beautifully in another word above and beyond Saadgi, and that word is nada. बहुत खूबसूरत लफ्ज़ है. Nada translates to someone who is ignorant, someone who is innocent, foolish, silly, simple, somebody who doesn't know the ways, right, of wisdom, of analysis, assessment, right? That is nada. And in Urdu poetry, many times this word is used to describe the lover and the Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna that resides in him. सब फेमस शायरों ने नादा को खूबसूरती से यूज़ किया है to capture this sentiment. Lot of famous poets have done it. मीर तकी मीर का ये शेर, याद उसकी इतनी खूब नहीं मीर, बाजा नादा, फिर वो जी से भुलाया न जाएगा. What a lovely couplet, right? The approximate translation is, her memory is not that great, Mir, and the poet is referring to himself. Stop, O silly one. Control yourself, O silly one, because once you remember her, again you will not be able to forget her. The poet is warning himself about the enchantment of the beloved's memory. Once it starts, it is impossible to forget it, to get out of it. इकबाल अशर का ये शेर, वो किसी को याद करके मुस्कुराया था उधर, और मैं नादां ये समझा कि वो मेरा हुआ. The approximate translation is, she on her end remembered someone and smiled, and me at my end, the simpleton that I am, the naive person that I am, understood it as if she finally became mine. And then this last one, Mirza Ghalib का बहुत फेमस शेर, दिले नादा तुझे हुआ क्या है, आखिर इस दर्द की दवा क्या है. Calling the heart of the lover innocent, naive, a simpleton. So the approximate translation is, oh my simple, naive, innocent heart, what has happened to you? Tell me, what is the cure for this pain that you hold inside of you? So this nadani is just another way of expressing Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna. Now, moving on to the last word of this first line, Yani. Yani is a commonly used adverb or conjunction in Persian and Arabic languages. Yani has multiple usages. Some of them are to describe words like namely, or that is, or in other words, or meaning this, right? Now, though in the normal language it is an adverb, it's a conjunction, in Urdu poetry, yani can become a very powerful word. And that is because poets leverage yani to create these two layers in their poetry. The first layer of what is actually said, and the second layer of what the deeper meaning is of what is actually said, or an additional meaning to what has been actually said. And you know, Ghalib was a master at this, right? Of saying something with a deeper meaning, or saying something and then attaching an additional meaning to it, which is totally different, at a totally different level, at a totally different intensity. Yani can be considered as this poetic doorway which takes you from the surface meaning or what is actually said on the surface to deeper meaning or something additional to what has been said on the surface. Now, in Persian language, there are some phrases which can be good examples of yani. एक ये है, यो खांदा कर्द Yani Jahan Roshan Shodh. Please excuse my Persian translation. This is a language that I do not know at all. But that is the Persian phrase, and the meaning is she smiled. That is, the world became illuminated. You khanda kard yani jahan roshan shodh. So there is a thing that is happening on the surface. She smiled, and then there is this deeper, additional thing that is happening. World becomes illuminated. In Ghazal, in classical Ghazal style, poets like Mirza Ghalib and Mir Taqi Mir often used Yani cleverly, deftly to reveal hidden meanings, create subtle emotional shifts in the couplet, and also to add this deeper, more mystical, philosophical meaning to their couplet. Some examples of this, right? मोमिन खान मोमिन का ये शेर, वो जो हम में तुम में करार था, तुम्हें याद हो कि ना याद हो, वही यानी वादा निबाह का, तुम्हें याद हो कि ना याद हो. Lovely couplet, very famous. The approximate translation is that love that existed between you and me, you may or may not remember. As in, Yani, that promise of loyalty that existed between you and me, you may or may not remember. मीर तकी मीर का ये शेर, अहद जवानी रो रो काटा, पीरी में ली आंखें मूंद, यानी रात बहुत थे जागे, सुबह हुई आराम किया. Beautiful couplet, just Mir at his best. The approximate translation is, throughout my youth, at the peak of my youth, I was always crying profusely. I was crying a lot. And then in my old age, I went ahead and closed my eyes. That is, Yani, that someone who had been up all night finally went to rest, finally went to sleep. The youth is compared to staying up all night, and finally dying in old age is compared to taking rest, going to sleep. So, Yani, sometimes when you read it, you might overlook it, but what a conjunction, what an adverb, which the poets use masterfully to create various doorways in their couplet, various levels in their couplet, various depths in their couplet. By using Yani at the end of the first line, Ghalib tells us that this first line is what I have actually said, and there is going to be a second line with either an additional meaning to what I have already said in first line, or a totally new, additional, deeper meaning. Now, this concept we have discussed many times at DGMC. If you've been with us for a long time, you know it. We always say that ghazals in that time were not crafted to be read by the audience. Ghazals in that time were crafted to be recited to the audience by the poet, by the shayer himself. And this recitation, this narration of ghazals used to happen in a mushaira setting. Mushaira, which is a collection of lot of Urdu poets and shayars who, one after the other, would be reciting, narrating their ghazals, their poetry. At DGMC, whenever there is a moment in a couplet, whenever there is craftsmanship in a couplet, where we think that this would have been just fabulous in the mushaira setting. This moment would have been so gripping, so amazing in the mushaira setting. We always encourage our viewers to pause and take a minute to imagine the mushaira setting, because that enhances your appreciation and enjoyment of that moment in the couplet. Now, this is one such moment. Yani. Imagine the suspense when Ghalib finishes narrating the first line and closes it with Yani. Now, there's always a pause between the first and the second line, right? In that pause, Ghalib leaves his audience hanging from the edge, hanging, wondering, Yani kya? What is it? As in what? Ghalib, in that moment, creates the famous Yani doorway, right? Through which he will take his audience to a different place in the second line. But for now, in the first line, we as audience stand on the threshold of this door of Yani, wondering what lies beyond it. Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna Yani, innocence of longing, such it is. Alright, that finishes the first line. Let's move on to the second line. Phir wo Nairang-e-Nazar Yaad Aaya. That, once again, memory of that enchanting glance came to mind. Ghalib starts the second line with Phir. As we have been seeing in this ghazal, Ghalib is leveraging Phir again and again. In the first couplet, in the second couplet, and now in the third couplet. And in all couplets, he is using Phir to describe a recurring cycle. Unstoppable cycle. Recurring cycle of what? Well, recurring cycle of memory. By extension, recurring cycle of a memory of the beloved and its impact on the lover. In the first couplet, it was memory of Diida-e-Tar. In the second couplet, it was memory of Waqt-e-Safar. Now let's get into the memory of this third couplet, which is Nairang-e-Nazar. What a word complex, Nairang-e-Nazar. Now, we already are very well aware of what nazar is. Eyes, glance, sight, look from an eye. Nairang, however, is a word we are encountering at DGMZ for the first time. So, let's spend a few minutes to unpack this new word, Nairang, and its essence. Nairang is a rich and layered word in Persian and Urdu poetry. It carries both literal and vivid symbolic meanings. Let's do the literal meaning first. Literally, Nairang means magic, some kind of sorcery, enchantment. It can also mean trick, illusion, deception, any kind of strange but wondrous phenomena. And finally, some kind of artifice, some kind of, again, sleight of hand, trickery. Nairang many times overlaps with ideas of tilism, which is enchantment, and fareb, which is deception. These words exist in the same word group, if you may. Nairang, tilism, fareb. Now that is the literal meaning of Nairang and its various nuances. Let's move on to Nairang in Persian and Urdu poetry. In the world of ghazals, Nairang is used to describe various scenarios, and we will pick some of those because that will help us grab and enjoy the essence of this word. So, first and foremost, Nairang is heavily used to describe the enchantment that the beloved carries in herself. फिराक गोरखपुरी का ये शेर, पर्दाए शर्म में सद बर के तबस्सुम के निसार, होश जाते रहे नए रंगे हया से पहले. The approximate translation is, under the veil of shyness, under the veil of shyness, there were 100 lightnings created by her smile. I lost my senses to her even before I could fully observe, I could fully see the enchantment of her shyness. So just that smile made me lose my senses. I couldn't even wait to see the entire enchantment of her shyness. Such was the impact of just seeing that smile under the veil. So, number one, enchantment of the beloved. That is one common scenario where Nairang is used in ghazal. The second common scenario is when we want to describe the nature of the world, the temperament, if you may, of this world, of this universe, cosmos around us. Poets will usually use terms like Nairang-e-Nazar, the trickery of time or trickery of world. Nairang-e-Hasti, the illusion of existence. So ये again ये जो क्षण भंगुरता है विश्व की हमारे चारों ओर, उसको डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए नायरंग यूज़ किया जाता है. अली जावद जैदी का ये शेर, आंखों में लिए जलवाए नायरंगे तमाशा, आई है खिज़ां जश्न बहारा से गुजर के. The approximate translation is, carrying in her eyes the spectacular enchantment and spectacle, this autumn has come passing through the spring. So even the autumn is carrying shades of spring. Such is the enchantment. Such is the sorcery. Such is the magic. Now, another usage of Nairang in poetry is when you are trying to differentiate between something which is artificial versus something which is real. Something which is an illusion versus something which is real. Now, this can be for false appearances. Sometimes it can be about emotional manipulation where you are showing an emotion which does not exist, or you are hiding an emotion which does exist. So many times the beloved's cruel playfulness of showing love, withdrawing love, etc. will also be described using the word Nairang. शौकत थनवी का ये शेर, करिश्मा साजिए नैरंगे हुस्न क्या कहिए, हजारों अहद हैं और कोई उस्तवार नहीं. Beautiful couplet. The approximate translation is, the miracle creating, bewitching beauty of the beloved. What do you say about it? How do you ever begin to describe it? Hundreds of promises made, and not even one of them is strong enough. Not even one of them is firm enough. Not even one of them is durable enough. Such is the enchantment. Hundreds of promises made for hundreds of things, but not even one of them will stand the test of time. And that is the false appearance, right? You are showing 100 promises, is the false appearance, is the illusion. None of them will stand the test of time, is the reality. And then finally, Nairang is used to describe some kind of very intense creative power, power of creation, power of art, power of visualization. And in that perspective, one of the most common usages is to describe the nature of God, the creative prowess of God who created this universe around us. दाग दहलवी का ये शेर, नए रंग है एक एक तेरा दीद के काबिल, हम ए फलक शोबादा गर देख रहे हैं. Lovely couplet. Meat is amazing, right? So the approximate translation is, enchanting it is, each and every visual created by you. O magician of the sky, we are looking at each and every visual created by you. And of course, this is addressed to God, that each and everything that you have created around us is worth looking at, worth appreciating. O magician who sits in the sky with this prowess of creation, believe us when we say we are looking at everything and appreciating everything. Now, with all those examples and couplets, it becomes very clear that Nairang is a very powerful word that poets leverage to describe magic, to describe deception, to describe beauty, to describe illusion, and finally to describe emotional trickery. There are many phrases in Urdu poetry created with Nairang in them. Nairang-e-Nazar, जैसा हमारे शेर में आज है, magic of the glance. Nairang-e-Husn, enchantment of beauty. Nairang-e-Dahr, deception of the world. Nairang-e-Fitrat, strange workings of nature and temperament. Nairang-e-Zindagi, unpredictability of life. Nairang-e-Khayal, illusion of the imagination. And finally, Nairang-e-Ishq, illusion of love. Unlike a simple word like magic, Nairang almost always will carry a dual shade to it, a dual meaning to it. Attraction plus deception. Beauty plus danger. Wonder plus illusion. Nairang hence is not just pure magic, simple magic, or I would even say innocent magic. Nairang, usually by its nature, is made to trap you, to ensnare you, to mislead you, trick you, at times overwhelm you. So Nairang comes with a hidden objective. Unlike magic, right, which its main objective is to just wow you, right, bedazzle you. Nairang, no. Nairang comes with a hidden objective. This Persian phrase captures it well. Dunya pur az Nairang ast. The world is full of deception. Another one. Nairang-e-Dahr ast o kasra wafa nist. The world is deception and there is no loyalty. In summary, Nairang is ऐसी जादूनुमा चीज जो दिल को लुभाती है लेकिन फरेब भी देती है, धोखा भी देती है. One of the most famous stories built around Nairang comes from the legendary Indo-Persian fantasy epic Tilisme-Hoshruba, part of the larger Dastane-Amir Hamza. And we refer to this Persian folk tale many times in our DGMC impression for two reasons. Number one, it is indeed a very famous epic tale of enchantment, magic and sorcery. And number two, its influences are seen in Ghalib's poetry. For those who haven't heard about it, very briefly put, In the story of the Nairang of Tilisme-Hoshruba, the whole world in that story is built on Nairang. Magic, illusion, deception, constantly shifting reality. In Tilisme-Hoshruba, the hero Amir Hamza sends his trickster warrior Amar Ayyar into a magical kingdom ruled by sorcerers, tricksters, magicians. This kingdom is not normal. It is made entirely of Nairang. Amar Ayyar enters a city where palaces appear and disappear. Gardens turn into deserts. Beautiful women suddenly become demons. Roads change directions. Night becomes day in second. Everything is Nairang, nothing is stable. There is an incident in the story where, at one point, Amar sees a magnificent palace. He goes inside it. He finds food, music, beauty. And while he's appreciating and indulging in all this, suddenly the palace dissolves into smoke. And Amar realizes and says to himself, Ye sab Nairang tha. It was all an illusion. In the second line, it seems Ghalib has gathered the huge, vast, enchanting, deceiving world of Nairang and brings it and places it in the eyes of the beloved. Nairang-e-Nazar याद आया. फिर वो नायरंग-ए-नज़र याद आया. पूरी जहां भर की नायरंगी समेट के लाके बिलवड की आंखों में रखती है. सुदर्शन फाकिर का ये शेर वन ऑफ आवर फेवरेट्स, बहुत फेमस गज़ल है, आपने शायद सुनी भी होगी. तेरी आंखों में हमने क्या देखा, कभी कातिल कभी खुदा देखा. नायरंगी, right? The approximate translation is, what did I see in your eyes? Still trying to figure it out. What did I see in your eyes? Sometimes I saw a murderer, and sometimes I saw God himself. Such is the Nairangi of your eyes. Such is the enchantment. Such is the sorcery of your eyes. Ghalib in the second line describes his memory of the enchantment and illusion of beloved eyes. Eyes that are capable of showing the lover what does not exist. अब्दुल कवी ज़िया का ये शेर, तेरी आंखों का मंजर सामने है, मैं प्यासा हूँ समुंदर सामने है. Showing the lover what does not exist. The approximate translation is, the vision of your eyes is in front of me. I am the thirsty one and these eyes look like ocean. Number 2, hiding from the lover what actually does exist. मार डाला तेरी आंखों ने हमें, शेर का काम हिरन करते हैं. हातिम अली मेहर का ये शेर. The approximate translation is, your eyes have finally killed me, slayed me. The works of a lion are achieved by these deer-looking eyes, showing what is, hiding what is there. They look like the eyes of a deer, but they work like a lion, killed the lover. Showing contradictory visions to the lover. इस पे फिराक गोरखपुरी का ये शेर, नायरंगे इश्क की है कोई इंतहा, कि ये गम कहाँ कहाँ, ये मसरत कहाँ कहाँ. The approximate translation is there any limit to the enchantment, to the sorcery, to the trickery of love? At this place and that place it is joy, at this place and that place it is grief. Hard to figure it out. In so many places it is joy, in so many places it is grief. And then finally, deceiving the lover by showing him what he wants to see. बिस्मिल आरिफी का ये शेर, दिलो दिमाग पे ऐसे वो छाए जाते हैं कि हम भी ख्वाब में दुनिया बसाए जाते हैं. The approximate translation is, on my heart and on my mind, her impact is such, her influence is such that in my dreams I am setting up a whole world with her. So, the enchantment, the sorcery, the trickery in the beloved's eyes can hit the lover in so many ways. Right? Now, would we ever trust looking in such Nairang eyes, in such enchanting eyes? Would we allow ourselves to be pulled into this world of magic and sorcery and trickery? No, not at all. Not at all. हमको तो हमारी अकल बोलेगी बिल्कुल देखने का भी नहीं उस चीज़ को, उस गली में जाने का ही नहीं, क्योंकि वहाँ पे जो भी है सब झूठ है, सब छलावा है, सब नए रंग है. Our brain will stop us. Our so-called wisdom will stop us. Don't go there. And that will happen, in DGMC's humble opinion, because we do not possess the lover's heart, which has in it Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna. Lover, with his heart full of Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna, does indeed go and look, go and gaze willingly, some would say helplessly, into the deep, enchanting, magical, deceitful world which lies inside the beloved's eyes. Nairang-e-Nazar. बेखुद दहलवी का ये शेर, जादू है या तिलिस्म तुम्हारी जबान में, तुम झूठ कह रहे थे मुझे एतबार था. Another great couplet. The approximate translation is it magic or is it sorcery that exists in your tongue? You were lying to me and I was trusting it. तुम झूठ कह रहे थे मुझे एतबार था. Knowing the dangers, the lover still gazes into the enchanting, ensnaring, entrapping eyes of the beloved. जावेद सबा का ये शेर, तेरी आंखों का ये जादू कहीं ले जाएगा, ये तेरी सादा सी सूरत मुझे ले डूबेगी. The approximate translation is, the magic, the sorcery, the enchantment of your eyes, beloved, will take me to some place. And this simplicity on your face is going to drown me. Yet, right? Yeah, I mean, it is unsaid, but yet, I will look into your eyes, I will gaze at your face. Though I know, तेरी आंखों का ये जादू कहीं ले जाएगा, ये तेरी सादा सी सूरत मुझे ले डूबेगी. So that brings us to the end of the second line. फिर वो नायरंग-ए-नज़र याद आया, that once again memory of that enchanting glance came to mind. Now, as always, let's take a few minutes to step back and look at the couplet in totality. Today's couplet is a glorious display of a sentiment that lies at the foundation of love in the lover's heart. The sentiment of innocence and naivety, the sentiment of believing, the sentiment of trusting. These sentiments, or we can even call them virtues, are many times overlooked, undermined, undervalued, ridiculed, and mocked. Displaying these sentiments and virtues is not an easy task, even on a normal day, in favorable circumstances. But when the lover displays these sentiments and virtues in circumstances that are not favorable, circumstances where the beloved shows no signs or tendency to reciprocate. That requires a lot of courage. That requires a lot of guts. That requires a purity and innocence and faith which will never get corrupted by rejection, knowledge, fact, or wisdom. Lover's naivete, his belief, his trust, and his hope defeat and survive the complete lack of beloved's reciprocation. फिराक गोरखपुरी का ये शेर, ना कोई वादा, ना कोई यकीन, ना कोई उम्मीद, मगर हमें तो तेरा इंतजार करना था. The approximate translation is no promises, no trust, no hope, but I had to wait for you. Like we said a few minutes back, Ghalib in Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna has captured the nadani of the lover, nadani of the ashik. The lover's nadani, his Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna, is the reason that he willingly looks into the enchantment, into the magic, into the sorcery that lies in the beloved's eyes. अहमद फराज का ये शेर, दिल ये कहता है कि शायद है फासुर्दा तू भी, दिल की क्या बात करें, दिल तो है नादा जाना. So the approximate translation is, my heart says to me that probably you also are grieved. But this is my heart saying it. And this heart is very naive, very ignorant, very simple. Now, Ghalib in today's couplet takes this Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna, takes this nadani of the ashik to the next level. Ghalib says in today's couplet, it is not just looking into her eyes, even remembering her eyes is enough to trap me, ensnare me, trick me, helplessly draw me into the Nairangi world that exists within her eyes. I don't even have to look into her eyes actually. Even if I was to remember those eyes, that's enough. I am done. I cannot be saved. I am caught. Another thing which is very beautifully pictured in this couplet, in DGMC's humble opinion, is the sharp, intense contrast Ghalib creates of the lover's Saadgi in the first line and the beloved's Nairangi in the second line. It's just breathtakingly beautiful. Just beautiful. And it's not as if we are seeing this for the first time, but I don't know. In this couplet, it just hits you as, wow, what a contrast. It's as if Ghalib draws a picture, and that's why we call him the Van Gogh of Urdu poetry at DGMC. It's as if Ghalib draws this picture where there are two individuals at the totally opposite ends of the spectrum. एक बिल्कुल सादगी, एक बिल्कुल नायरंगी. One absolutely simple, naive, innocent, ignorant, and one an absolute sorcerer, enchantress, magician, trickster. And these two people are gazing into each other's eyes. Mind-blowing visual, right? What will she see in his eyes and what will he see in her eyes is just beyond imagination. Just beyond imagination. So, basically, Ghalib in today's couplet not only puts the spotlight on the naivete and innocence of the lover's heart, but also on the inability of the lover's brain and its reason, its wisdom to change the lover's heart. The lover's brain cannot change the lover's heart. Love operates from the heart. It operates from the soul. Love does not operate from the brain. It does not operate from wisdom. Now, some might call this strength of love. Some might call this weakness of love. Ghalib in today's couplet calls it Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna. Alright, that brings us to the end of Saadgi-ha-e-Tamanna Yani, Phir wo Nairang-e-Nazar Yaad Aaya. Innocence of longing, such it is that once again memory of that enchanting glance came to mind. We hope you enjoyed the impression. As always, we'll be very keen to hear your feedback, comments. We love it when you interact with us. Now, for any new viewers today, a strong recommendation to go through the episode titled Introduction to DGMC, because it will give you a good insight into the motivation and inspiration behind this podcast. If you have not joined us on the Facebook page, we invite you to join us there, the DGMC Facebook page. We post Share of the Day regularly with English approximate translations so that you can enjoy it. For our regular viewers, whenever you have time, please go to the homepage of the channel. We have multiple playlists there segregated by topics and ghazals. Surf through them and pick an episode which interests you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this episode by sending a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.